and welcome to Session 5 of our Star Wars campaign, Heart of Darkness. When we last left our heroes, in inverted commas, Crood and Yaatu, they were travelling to the Ookbat system on board the Night Dragon, their stolen YT-1300 freighter that they liberated from the Imperial Customs Bureau. Having rescued a rebel pilot, they were taking her to the base in the northern contested zone of the system, to the planet of Ookbat I. This is a planet that regularly the surface is torn asunder by magnetic and electrical storms. However, the crust of the planet is riddled with huge caverns and underground tunnels where most of the natives and the visitors make their bases, including one of the bases for the Alliance to Restore the Republic, or to give it its more common name, the Rebel Alliance. Having brought their rebel pilot to the base, they allowed her to fly the ship in, so they didn't know the precise location of the base for the future. However, they quickly made friends upon arrival there after they revealed that they had a cargo hold full of highly illegal but untraceable blasters, which Yaatu proceeded to sell to the rebel commanders at quite a significant discount, and to be honest, that's got them quite well disposed towards them. They made several, shall we say, less than subtle attempts to recruit Crood and Yaatu more directly to the Rebel Alliance cause, but after they explained that, well, they only really wanted a more sort of business relationship, they seemed to settle on that, perhaps thinking that they could work on them in the future. We're joined by a new player, which is Becky Rose, who is playing a Twi'lek scholar called Gribbly. So looking forward to seeing how that works out. So I'm going to ask each of the players to describe their characters. So Jason, if you can please go first.
Yep, so my name is Jason. I am playing the happy-go-lucky pilot extraordinaire Crood Bosmore. He also has a little loth cat called Kyber, who's been causing a bit of trouble recently on the ship. But apart from that, he's very much into his basically things that go really fast. So anything to do with ships, speeders, pod racing, he likes to go at the top gear.
Okay, splendid. Thank you very much. Then if we can go to Johannes with your character.
Right, so my name is Johannes. I'm playing Yaatu Deng. Yaatu is a young Maryland scoundrel who's been drifting across the Castola sector lately with his friend, Crood Bosmore. And, well, Yaatu is kind of desperate to make a name for himself and I guess the crew that he runs with as well in the underworld circles of the sector. And, of course, he's not opposed to making mountains of credits while doing that. Yaatu is very concerned with his image and appearances, and he's kind of shallow. He has recently gotten his very first tattoo, which is socially very significant for the Maryland people. He has a giant tattoo of an Ookbat ice worm wrapping around his torso, and I think the head probably comes up to like his neck, so that it's like swallowing his head.
Nice.
And Yaatu is looking forward to working with the rebels in Ookbat. We're off to a good start there.
Okay, and last but by no means least, Becky, if you can describe your character.
Hello, I'm Ms. Cald, Gribbly Cald, a Twi'lek, a purple-hued, of course, as all good Twi'leks are. I am from a very fine family. Educated, more than a fighter. I fight with the heart.
Okay, thank you very much. So we begin in one of the large caverns in the crust of Ookbat I. The three of you have run into this cavern away from the bounty hunters who are pursuing you. You've just been about to get involved in the speeder bike races, the somewhat notorious speeder bike races that the natives run on the surface. I say notorious because there's quite a lot of fatalities due to the electrical storms, but no one really seems to mind. It's viewed as a high danger sport, and hence the prices and the rewards are commensurately higher. There is a network of effectively broadcast television in the much safer chambers below, with sensor droids above ground to record the speeder bikes as they go past. You guys were just looking at a speeder bike. Potentially, would you have been about to get involved, Crood? Would you have wanted to take part yourself, or would you have just had a professional interest?
That's a good question, actually. He's not so versed in speeders as opposed to sort of bigger ships, so at least to start with, he would just probably keep on the sidelines, or as close as possible to the action without actually doing anything. And then maybe after a few drinks, he'd be up for doing something.
Okay, so it was as you guys were sort of looking over some of these speeder bikes, you'd ventured up onto the actual surface, and you were just you'd had a couple of drinks, Crew, and you were just sort of deciding whether you wanted to get involved or not. That you spotted what appeared to be 3 sort of medium-sized, about sort of 4'5" figures, all wearing these flexible suits of armor and these breathing-assisted helmets with visors on, perhaps to protect against the semi-frequent flashes of electromagnetic energy that ripple across the surface. You notice the 3 of them sort of stood nearby to you. One of them glances down at a data pad and then looks across directly at Yaatu. You can see he appears to be looking at something hanging on Yaatu's belt. Yaatu doesn't appear to have noticed yet, Crood, but as you look down, you can see that the top of the Imperial data rod that you recovered from the shapeshifter on board your vessel is just like poking out at the top of his utility belt.
Okay. I'm gonna leap over the side and go up to these 3 and just be right in their faces and just like be all dorkish and get them to sign autographs and stuff.
Okay, as you start heading towards these 3 guys in these suits, they actually start to sort of try and move away from you to put some distance between them and yourself.
Hey, I'm talking to you. I want to get your autograph. What? I'm not that drunk. Just a little. Come on, you're my favourite. And I sort of call out a random name that's probably completely wrong.
Okay, now, Gribbly, from where you're stood, sort of just about to watch the races yourself, you see what appears to be a fairly drunk Rhodian haranguing these 3 figures. Now, the Rhodian, judging by the sort of semi-drunken shouting that he's doing, seems to have mistaken these 3 suited figures for speeder bike racers. However, you recognise them as figures that you've seen sort of around this area before, and you know that the 3 of them are bounty hunters.
I find that interesting, a little worrying. I'm not overly fond of bounty hunters, Imperials.
You see the gentleman at the back of this group of bounty hunters, the 3rd member of the trio, appears to be looking at a data pad in his hand. Then he glances around the Rhodian to what appears to be a Miralanan with this sort of twisted tattoo of an ice worm wrapping around his torso, and he appears to be like looking at the data pad and then looking back at this Miralanan as though he's trying to like compare and contrast the 2.
Well, that's a little more interesting than trying to figure out a better way to do the plasma infusion on these speeders. I'm going to pay some close attention to this. It could be interesting. Also, I really don't want to get caught up in the middle of anything that's about to go down. I wonder if there's a spot here where I could take a little cover. I do, mind you, bounty hunters, they're Imperial licensed, aren't they?
Most of them are either sort of guild or Imperial licensed, yeah.
Yeah, see, that's not something I like. Perhaps a distraction might work. I know what I'll do. I'll hide in some cover, and I will just take a pot shot in the ground, somewhere between the 2. Let's wake up their target, I think. Make him aware of what's going down. Yes, I'll do that. Oh gosh, the adrenaline. I've really been very good with this gun.
Okay, that's absolutely fine. Now, you're not actually shooting to damage anyone, so you don't have to make a roll for it. What sort of gun is it that you've got?
Oh, it's just a little holdout pistol, really a spare sidearm, really, from my former life, a holdout blaster. No, I'm more worried, really, about what I'm hiding behind. I want to make sure they can't see me once I fired the shot.
Well, there's certainly a lot of speeder bikes around, and given that this is sort of like just before the start of the big speeder race, there's an awful lot of people about, you know, placing money and bets with each other, talking to each other, looking at the speeder bikes, of cheering for their favourite riders to come on. You know that once the actual race begins, most of them will like retreat into the tunnels and watch it on the sort of like the closed circuit TV effectively. But at the moment, that there's quite a crowd gathered here, and like I said, there's a lot of speeder bikes and a lot of other various bits of sort of starting line equipment about that you could quite easily hide behind.
Yeah, I'm going to do exactly that and place my shot directly between the two, or as close as I can.
Okay, so Yaatu, the first you're really aware of these like three suited figures is when you see Crood, who's been like drinking a fair old bit on your way up to look at the starting line of this speeder bike race effectively. When Crood starts like haranguing these three people, like running after them, trying to get an autograph off them, obviously thinking they're speeder racers. You're just looking across and you've just noticed one of them looking at a data pad and then looking back at you, when suddenly there's a and a blaster shot hits the ground like between you and them.
I imagine I was probably at the bar because we've been staying there with Crood because he's getting shit-faced.
Mm-hmm.
I'm probably going to, because I was talking with one of the locals. I think the planet culture was like tribal.
Yeah, they've got access to like the normal sort of Star Wars level of technology, but they've maintained a sort of tribal basis. In fact, the main reason that this speeder bike race is so popular is because it originally started as a sort of tribal rite of passage, or a sort of a rite of challenge, and as they've incorporated more technology from other races that have visited this world, it's gradually become more of a sort of entertainment pastime and more of a sport, but it still brings all the indigenous tribes together to try and compete, to sort of one-up each other by having the best rider in this speeder bike race.
So I was probably at the bar talking to probably some travelers from Katala system.
Nice.
And I was trying to figure out, because I know that they're an agri world, so I was trying to figure out if I can find some contacts for maybe smuggling some food off there. And then the shot goes off, and I'd probably like jump over the bar to like land on my face behind it, just to like get to safety.
Okay, so you leap over the bar. Crood, you've just sort of caught up with these guys and you're sort of asking them for an autograph, when again there's this and a blaster shot hits the ground sort of like midway between yourself and them and Yaatu, where he stood over by the bar.
Who did that? And I sort of, well, basically I kind of half stagger behind them because I'm assuming they're all a little bit taller than me anyway.
Yeah.
And I'm sort of looking with my beady eyes to see where the hell this shot came from.
Okay, at this point, I'm going to ask Becky, can you tell me what your stealth score is?
Oh dear. So I've got 2 green in that.
So, Jason, for you, it will be a perception roll, and the difficulty is 2 purple.
I do not see. I am too pissed.
Okay, so for a few moments, you sort of like hold your breath, Gribbly, as you think, oh, I'm sure to be spotted. I've just like leaned out and fired a shot. But the 3 bounty hunters seem to be more intent on the Miralannon, who's just jumped behind the bar. The Rhodian swings around, obviously trying to find out who did the shot, but you can see from the look on his face that he's obviously been imbibing a little too freely of the alcohol that's flowing at the start of this race, and doesn't appear to spot you at all.
Well, I think that works. He seems to have got to safety. I've done my bit for the day. That's great, only now I can't move. I'm stuck here. Oops. Oh well.
Okay, as you leap over the bar, Yaatu, you hear one of the 3 suited figures shouting, "He's trying to get away with the data rod! Get him!" One of these suited figures pushes you out of the way, Crood. You nearly fall over in your inebriated state. The 3 of them draw blaster pistols and start running towards the bar, so shoving people out of the way, trying to get to the bar.
Oh, headspin. Where are you going?
Okay, at this point, since we're effectively into combat rounds, I'm going to ask everyone to roll your cool score. There is no difficulty. It's just a straightforward roll, and this is to determine initiative. Okay, so the way initiative works is effectively your guys' rolls determine where the player slots are based, then mine determines where the NPC slot goes. So effectively, we've got the order we've got is player, player, NPC, player. Now, it doesn't mean that a specific player has to go in a specific player slot. It's up to you guys to decide who goes next. So it's going to be a player acting first. So who do you guys want to act first?
Do you have ideas for...
I'll probably say yourself. It would make no sense if I went first, for one thing.
Oh, okay. Right, so they're coming towards the bar with guns out.
Yeah, they're running towards the bar. You can see that they're drawing heavy blaster pistols out from under these flowing sort of environment suits they're wearing. You can't really see their faces because they've got sort of like blue visors and helmets on.
What happens is I reach into my bag of stuff and pull out one of my homemade flashbangs, and I'm going to chuck it over the bar at the guys.
Okay, so spend that destiny point. So that's what you do. You reach in and you pull out another one of these like ridiculously like cobbled and gaffer taped together like homemade explosives that you keep knocking up in your spare time.
Yeah, so I pull it, I rip off like the ignition tape because it has that for some reason, because it was the only thing I could rig up, and I reach over the bar table and probably knock off some very colorful cocktails while I'm at it. My hand probably comes back like glowing like blue for some reason from one of the spilled beverages, and I chuck it at the floor towards these guys' legs.
Okay, so Gribbly, as you're sort of like crouched behind this speeder bike having taken your shot, you see these figures running towards the Miralannon who's just vaulted over the bar, when suddenly he stands up and he pulls out this extremely sort of homemade looking explosive. There's like wires all over it and gaffer tape, and he throws it towards these bounty hunters. You see it sort of almost in like slow motion, arcing through the air towards their feet. What do you do, Gribbly?
Well, at the moment of explosion, I'd prefer to be ducking down behind my cover again, but afterwards I'll stick my head back up. What do I see then?
Okay, no problems. The explosion goes off, and as you crouch down and look away behind your speeder bike, there's this massive sort of blue flash of energy. You hear some people shouting, as they've obviously been looking in that direction, like shielding their eyes. It appears to be some sort of flashbang grenade. However, the bounty hunters themselves don't appear unduly affected by it, perhaps because of the visors they're wearing.
Okay, but they've all now got their back to me, right?
That's correct.
Well, they do seem to be after that fellow, and, well, that's a cause I can side with. I mean, all things considered, I've got a duty.
Indeed, you don't know much about the Miralannon, but it's obvious he's no friend of the Empire.
Quite. I'm going to try and put a shot in the back of one of these fellows. It seems a little unsporting, but, well, needs must.
Indeed, so you need to make a ranged light roll. The difficulty is 2. Okay, and your final result is 1 failure, which means you've not been successful in inflicting any damage on them. However, you have 2 advantages. Now, the way advantages work are basically, although you've not inflicted any damage, you could spend the advantages to sort of like do like little extra things which are positive. So you might sort of say, well, if someone was attacking you in hand-to-hand, you might say, well, I've done no damage, but I'm going to spend those advantages to get a bit more behind cover or put a bit of distance between myself and my attacker, etc.
Well, quite. And in this case, it really is. I just poke my head up over the bike and the pit wall thing that I'm hit behind. I take my pot shot. I wildly miss and hit the sign of the bar that Yaatu was in. And then I duck down behind the wall. Oh, dear. We must learn how to use this thing.
Okay, so basically what happens is a massive gunfight breaks out between these 3 bounty hunters, yourself and Yaatu. Obviously the crowds in the middle are caught up in this, and people start drawing their guns in the crowd, trying to get to cover, etc. And you guys pretty much get swept along with the crowd, Gribbly, Crood and Yaatu. Eventually you find yourself sort of all swept together into one of these tunnels leading down into the crust of the planet. Most of the crowd has sort of dissipated and scattered, trying to get away from these three figures, leaving the three of you in this tunnel. But you can see the three bounty hunters at the entrance to this tunnel running towards you. You see one of them again points at Yaatu and says, "Don't let the data stick get away."
I'm probably breathing quite hard because we've been running away from these guys, and so yeah, I'm just trying to catch my breath. Any ideas? Oh. Oh boy.
Okay, so the Miralanum sort of looks at you, Gribbly, and says, like, he's obviously panting quite a lot. He's been leaping over bars. He's been firing back at these bounty hunters. He seems almost on the verge of exhaustion. Looks up at you, sweat running down his tattooed face, and says, "Any ideas?"
Okay, I'll see what I can come up with. So we're in a tunnel. Are we in a dead end, or is there exits?
The tunnel appears to have two exits. It's basically you can either go back the way you came to try and get past these bounty hunters, or you can continue down the tunnel. The tunnel is sloping down gradually, and you know it'll eventually join up with this large network of caverns that pretty much covers the entire sort of outer crust of this world of Ookbat I.
We'll have to lose them in the caverns and just run.
How's Crood doing? Because he was pretty smashed.
Good point.
Well, I'll tell you what, Crood, make me some form of like athletics roll.
Okay.
Difficulty 2. Okay, so you have one success. So almost miraculously, despite your slightly inebriated nature at the start of this scene, perhaps the adrenaline's helped you shrug it off or something, you're not sure. But as you've been swept along with this crowd, along with Gribbly and Yaatu, and you found yourself in this tunnel, you're actually feeling the worst effects of the alcohol sort of wearing off. Like, say, perhaps it's the adrenaline. But as you're looking back down the tunnel, you can see these three bounty hunters wearing these suits and these helmets with visors on, running towards you, all still holding these heavy blaster pistols in their hands.
So I'm kind of startled at this. Have they been attacking Yaatu or anything like that? Because if they have, then obviously I would try and defend him.
They've certainly shot at Yaatu when he was behind the bar. However, they've been sort of struggling to push their way through the crowds, and it's only now they've caught up with you in this tunnel. So they haven't started shooting yet, but you've definitely seen one of them point at Yaatu and shout, "Don't let the data stick get away."
Okay. Yeah, fine. In that case, yeah, I would try and take a shot back at them as soon as they come out of the crowd.
Okay, that's fine. So make your ranged attack roll. Difficulties 2.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so you get to inflict your damage +1. So what's that?
Oh, in fact, my crit score is 3.
Oh, nice. So you can do a crit as well then. So tell me what your damage is first of all.
7.
7. Okay, that's grand. And you also get to make a roll on the crit table. Okay, so you've hit one of these bounty hunters, and basically you've sort of dinged them to the extent that the difficulty of all their skill checks is going to be increased by 1 until the end of the encounter. So do you want to describe how that critical manifests? And you've knocked him down to half his wound. So describe how your shot takes effect.
Yeah, okay. So I fire a flurry of short blasts. So one would probably hit his hand, his primary hand, which would allow him to sort of keep the gun steady. So obviously that's now hindered greatly.
Mm-hmm.
And then the main damage would have been done in his torso somewhere.
Okay, you hear this as he's hit in the torso. You see him sort of almost drop to one knee, but he just about manages to keep his footing. Okay, so that was the first player slot of that round, effectively. We then have another player slot.
Jason, have we been talking about like violence? Because I think this is the very first time that we've actually inflicted real violence on someone, like actual like bodily harm.
What about in the first session with the Imperials and trying to cause the distraction? I'm sure that we blew some people up in that.
You definitely did shoot some stormtroopers.
Okay, well, yeah.
Not guilty.
Yeah, well, they're stormtroopers. Okay, so I probably pause anyway because I realized that like Crood's settings are not on stun because there's blood involved.
Yeah.
And there's a moment where I look at because I saved one of the blaster rifles from our shipment. I look at it. I look at the stun setting. It's on stun, and I flick it off, from stun and start firing at the bounty hunters.
Okay, so make your attack roll. It's difficulty 2. With that roll, you've managed to inflict your damage +1, on, presumably on one of the advancing bounty hunters, or do you wish to shoot the injured one?
No, I'm shooting like the first guy.
Okay, so what's your damage +1 for your rifle?
That's a 10.
Okay, so the bounty hunter you've hit is almost out of commission. It's like practically a miracle he's still walking, so describe how that goes down.
I think what happens is I switch off the stun settings, take a real good aim, and I shoot the guy in the thigh, and it hits square in the middle. He goes down on one knee because it hurts real bad, and I think his enviro shoot, because it's breached now, the suit. I think it probably like catches fire from like the energy blast, and his leg is on fire essentially.
Okay, and in fact, as his suit catches fire with the atmosphere venting out of it, he pretty much like stops, drops, and rolls and falls to the ground. He's rolling around trying to put out this fire. However, the one who's still sort of uninjured just pounds past him, leveling this heavy blaster pistol out to you, Yaatu, and fires it. Okay, and he has hit you for 9 points of damage.
Woo! I have 3 soaks, but it's still 6.
However, interestingly for you, that actually comes off your strain rather than your wounds. So what happens is, as he draws level, he fires this heavy blaster pistol, and instead of like the normal sort of bolt of like yellowish energy coming out of it, you see a blue sort of almost ring of energy zap out and hit you, Yaatu. For a few moments, your head swims. You find it difficult to keep your concentration. Anyone who's ever used a weapon with a stun setting will recognise that this guy's got his blaster pistol set on stun.
Yeah, and probably like the only coherent thought in my head is, well, this is what it feels like when I hit them with my grenades, probably.
Okay, so we've got 1 player slot left before we go on to the next round.
Well, I'm pretty sure something's up straight away, because usually when I try to run, I'm not normally leading. So as I turn and look and see these 2 resistance fighters of a fashion shooting at these licensed Imperials, well, that's I suppose I don't really feel the confidence to join in a firefight. That's not me. I mean, if I did it from here, I'd probably hit my newfound friends.
Okay, Gribbly, do you have any Outer Rim or Underworld knowledge?
I do indeed.
Okay, if as a free action you would like to make me a roll on that, difficulty is 1 purple. Okay, from the angle that you're stood at, you can see behind this advancing figure to the guy who's like rolling around on the ground with his leg on fire. As he's rolling around, the sort of jacket of his suit is flapping open, and you can see there's like an insignia on the inside of it. You recognise it as being the insignia of the Zan Consortium, who are effectively a merciless criminal syndicate that have a lot of power in this sector.
Okay, so they're not actually Imperial.
It certainly seems unlikely, however, they're still fairly unsavoury characters.
Okay, that's not the desired result, really. Perhaps these 2 aren't the people I were hoping they were. I'll just duck down out of sight for now, if I possibly can, if there's anything I can hide behind.
Well, yeah, you're in like a sort of a natural cavern, so there's obviously like rock formations, stalactites, etc. The tunnel you're in is sort of fairly bendy, so there's corners you can duck into, like crevices in the walls, etc. That's not a problem. So can you please make me a stealth roll, difficulty 2?
No, apparently not.
Okay, so you attempt to sort of like squeeze yourself into one of these cracks in this cavern wall. However, given that the tunnel's fairly empty apart from you guys, you don't think there's much of a chance they're going to miss you here. And then we move on to the next round, so it's a player slot again.
I can envisage you being a bit startled actually by Crood's actions and being so sort of deadly.
Yeah,
Okay.
definitely.
What I'm going to say going forward, just to speed this up, is when someone's had an action, when you get to the end of your action, if it's another player slot, just say who you want to go next, and we'll do it that way.
Okay, so at this point, are the other 2 visible by this point, or are they still in the crowd a little bit?
There's pretty much you and these 3 bounty hunters in the tunnel now. Everyone else is scattered. One of the bounty hunters looks like he's almost dead and he's rolling around the ground trying to put out his burning leg. The other one is the one that you've hit who's still holding his bleeding side, whereas one of them who's just shot Yaatu appears pretty much uninjured.
Alright, in that case I'll counterattack him because it's like, hey, you've just hurt my friend! So I'm going to shoot him, preferably in the knee or somewhere vulnerable.
Okay, that's fine. So the difficulty is 3. Okay, so you have hit him for your damage +1, which I believe was 7, was it?
Yeah.
Okay, splendid. Okay, so you've hit this guy. However, as he sort of reels back and you hear him cry out in pain, you feel a sudden sharp stabbing sensation in your leg, and you take 2 points of wound damage based on your sort of catastrophic result, as the guy who's been sort of like lying on the floor trying to put himself out has put his leg out, he's crawled over and he's stabbed a knife into the bottom of your leg.
Ah, the bastards!
Blast, this is not a favourable situation at all. Oh, not another mistake, not another one. Oh, they say these things come in 3s. I guess this is number 2. Why are they always so catastrophic?
Nice.
Yeah, I don't really have an action to take, though. I'm just trying to hide.
Yeah, that's absolutely fine. So as you're sort of looking around for somewhere to hide, the bounty hunter who's just been hit by Crood, who's sort of staggered back, shouts out in a slightly modulated voice from underneath his helmet, "Just give us the Imperial data rod and you can go."
I presume that's directed to me.
Yep.
Because they know that I have the rod. I'm probably still going a bit like from the shock that I got. So I think it's probably like it's gonna fall on the floor, just from the shaking that I'm doing, from the stun damage, and probably just like rolls on the floor towards the guy.
Okay, as it rolls towards the lead bounty hunter, still keeping his gun trained on you, he bends down, picks up this Imperial data rod, then he looks back at you, Yaatu, and you can just about at this close distance see his eyes through this blue-tinted visor. They narrow slightly, and he says, "What did you do with Thazalith?"
Don't know anyone by that name.
Our contact, the person who had this data rod. What did you do with her?
I don't know. I found it.
Bullshit. What did you do with her? And he like thumbs the hammer back on his gun effectively.
Yeah, puts the power to max damage. Well, okay, to be honest, I didn't find it. Oh, well, I did find it. Well, not the usual way, I suppose. Your contact is safely aboard the ship. We can maybe stop shooting and go look at her.
One of the bounty hunters who's like lying on the floor, they're slowly picking themselves up, the 2 most injured members, says, "Oh, it doesn't matter. We've got the data rod. We need to get it back to Osmar. Let's just get out of here."
Yeah, I'm seeing it's an Imperial data rod that they're holding. I'd actually like to try and do something a little bit bold.
Cool.
As one thing I cannot countenance, and that's the Imperials keeping their own intelligence. If this gets back to the Imperials somehow, that's a defeat. I think I'm going to try and shoot it out of his hand. I'm nowhere near good enough for this. Not with a gun.
Okay, that's absolutely fine. So it'll be another shooting roll. The difficulty will be 3 because you're trying to like shoot it out of his hand. So you, as this guy's sort of looking at his companions and they're saying, "Oh, we need to get this data rod back to Osmar. We don't care about these people." You describe how you lean out and you shoot this data rod out of his hand.
It's a very nervous move, but I sort of go through all of the basic training that I had. I exhale, bring the gun down over the target slowly, breathe out, and just as it's... Whoa, fuck, I did it!
Okay, as this small blast of energy hits this data rod that's in this guy's hand, he lets out a small yelp, and there's a few moments where the data rod spins end over end and flies like directly up into the air. There's one of those moments where everyone in both groups, bounty hunters and yourselves, sort of look upwards as this data rod sort of spins upwards into the air and then starts falling back down between you. You can see, obviously, the bounty hunter who was holding it, he's sort of reaching up. Perhaps he's getting ready to jump up and try and grab it. What are you guys doing?
I'm gonna just shoot him, the guy who's gonna jump.
Okay, go for it. It's difficulty 3. Okay, so you fire your shot. Unfortunately, he's already jumped off the ground. And although your shot sails through the space he was occupying a few moments earlier, he's no longer there as he leaps up in the air, plucks this data rod out of the air. Then as he falls back down, you having taken a couple of steps forward to basically get a bead on where he is, he's going to attempt to shoot you as he sort of falls back down with his pistol. And he indeed hits you. You will be taking 8 points of strain damage, Yaatu.
Okay, so I'm down to 2 from my threshold.
Okay, so basically what happens is he jumps up, he plucks this Imperial data rod out of the air. It's been sort of spinning through the air after being shot out of his hand. As he sort of falls back down, he sees you step forward a little bit and taking a shot at him. He fires his pistol down at you. He's not, luckily for you, he's not had time to switch it off stun setting. So another blue ring of energy flashes out and hits you. Now, Crood and Gribbly, you see Yaatu sort of sway back and rock dangerously on his feet. He looks as though he's only just holding on to consciousness.
Yeah, I'm just twitching and spasming, barely staying upright.
Okay, so Crood, what are you going to do?
Okay, so my head's still spinning a little bit. I'm getting sort of beads of sweat coming down me as well from my brow. I sort of look at him and think, oh, well, I haven't got any medical gear on me because I don't really carry that kind of thing around. Wait, I do have a death stick though.
Nice.
Maybe that will at least sort of wake him up a little bit. And what I do is I actually go up and I'm not entirely sure how death sticks works, but I'm assuming that you have to sort of either shake them or click something so it activates.
Yeah, effectively they're like a combination of sort of glow sticks and cigarettes. Instead of lighting them, you crack them like you would a glow stick, and then you inhale them like you would a cigarette.
Okay. In that case, I crack this death stick and I just put it in his mouth and push down his chest, so then he would have to breathe in.
Okay, so Yaatu, as you're sort of swaying dangerously on your feet and there's dark spots swimming in front of your vision, the world goes a little bit hazy. You're suddenly aware of Crood steps up to your side, shoves this death stick between your lips and presses in on your stomach. So as he lets go and you're this flood of these stimulants from the death stick sort of floods into you. It's not enough to actually give you any strain back, but for the moment it sort of shocks you out of this almost passing out that you're doing.
Yeah, so I'm probably but I'm fixing my now slightly clearer eyes on I suppose the only bounty hunter standing, trying to see what he's doing, because he has the stick and he has a bead on me, or us, I guess.
Indeed, as he's landed on the ground, he's holding the data rod in one hand. He appears to be putting it inside his jacket at the moment whilst keeping his pistol trained on you, Yaatu.
Yeah, I've shot this thing out of his hand and the damn guy has caught it, and unbelievable. I can't let this information get back to the Imperials, whatever it is. And I'm going to stand up from behind my cover. I hold the pistol in both hands and I scream, "Ah!" as I pull the trigger as many times and as frantically as I can.
Okay, that's absolutely grand. Make your shooting roll. It's difficulty 3. Okay, so you've not managed to hit him. However, what you can do with your bonuses is you could effectively spend those to give your allies boost dice. So perhaps you shoot at him, and although you don't hit him, it forces him into a position where your allies can shoot him more easily. Or if you want to suggest other advantageous things you could have potentially done that haven't inflicted damage but that might help, feel free.
Yeah, I'm just showering the corridor in bullets, just firing as fast as I can with this gun, not particularly accurately or well because I'm not that good with it. But as a result, the quantity of blast going down this tunnel has caused him to basically duck and run to the side. So hopefully that will give my companions a chance to act.
Okay, splendid. So Yaatu, as you're sort of you're choking on this death stick, you see Gribbly step out and fires this salvo of shots. Doesn't seem to hit any of the bounty hunters, but it does cause them to back off some way down into the tunnel just to avoid being hit. And then we're on to the next round for a player slot. Who would you like to go next, Gribbly?
I'll hand this one over to Crood. I think he's the most, well, he's the one who's done the most damage.
The luckiest one. Okay. In that case, how's the guy who had the burning leg? Is he still standing?
The two who were quite badly injured are sort of like trying to help each other to their feet and sort of slowly retreating down the tunnel away from you guys.
Okay. In that case, I take some more warning shots at them and hopefully they'll be able to just run away. And I shout something snardy at them like, yeah, and don't you come back, you bastards.
Okay, that's absolutely fine. As you're doing that, Crew, they do indeed start drawing away. However, as they're doing this, you notice that the lead one who's put the sort of data rod back in his jacket now, but is keeping a pistol trained on you guys. You notice he pulls something out of his jacket, and with mounting horror, you recognise that he's holding a thermal detonator. Who would you like to go next, Crew?
Okay, Yaatu.
I'm gonna shoot him, the detonator guy, hopefully before he triggers it.
Okay, well, it's your slot just before his, so if you can take him out in this, it'll be before he thumbs the activation on the thermal detonator. So make your attack roll. It's difficulty 3. Okay.
So I raise my shaking hand, holding the blaster rifle, just one-handed, and just try to point it there and not being able to because my nerves are all firing at the same time.
Okay, yeah, your shot sort of clips his shoulder but doesn't really appear to do much damage to him. As he looks back at you, you can almost sort of feel him smiling underneath this helmet visor that he's wearing. He presses the button on the top of the thermal detonator, then throws it in the direction of you guys, and he says, "This is what happens to anyone who messes with the Zan Consortium." And you see this thermal detonator spiraling through the air towards you guys with this little blinking red light on top of it. Who do you want to go next, Yaatu?
Gribbly. Gribbly sounds good.
Yeah, quickly try and run through the options. Shoot it out of the air. No, that won't work. Run. Yes.
Okay, so you're just turning around in the opposite direction, legging it deeper into the tunnels. Is that correct, Gribbly?
Yeah, I mean, well, there are two options really when it comes to running forward or running back.
Indeed.
Running forward does keep me nearer that Imperial intelligence stick, and, well, yes, I am prepared to give up my life, even though I don't really know these guys, but that Imperial data stick is Imperial data. Can't let it get back. But, honestly, he's in armor. He's trained in this. No. I've got to run away.
Okay, not a problem. So you turn around and start running further into the tunnels. Who would you like to go next?
I'll hand it back to Yaatu this time.
I think I see Gribbly running, and I really want to as well, but I think this is probably where Yaatu draws his line. No, I have to be tougher than this, because I am. Or at least I want to be. So I probably shoot Crood a glance that's a bit like, well, I'll see you on the other side. I want to start running towards the bounty hunters, past wherever the detonator is gonna land. I'm basically gonna charge him. Okay.
So you turn around, you give Crood this look as Gribbly's running further into the tunnels. Then you run past the thermal detonator just as it's about to hit the ground, sort of leaping over it and running towards the bounty hunters. Crood, what are you doing as this thermal detonator hits the ground?
I am following suit. Because, damn it was my idea first.
So are you running further into the tunnels, or are you running after them?
No, I'm going to run towards the bounty hunter. Sort of dive towards him.
Okay, that's absolutely fine. Can you guys please make me an athletics roll, difficulty 2? Crood and Yaatu. Okay, Crood, you take 8 wounds of damage. Yaatu, you take 11 wounds of damage as you're both sort of running away past this thermal detonator. As it explodes, there's this huge wave of concussive force behind you that actually throws you guys nearer to these bounty hunters, who as soon as they threw the thermal detonator, they turned around and started legging it back the way they came down the tunnel. There's this as the detonator explodes. Obviously, Yaatu was a little bit nearer to the detonation when it went off, so caught more of the brunt of it than you did, Crood. You'd obviously a bit quicker on your feet and got a bit further away from it. You can see up ahead of you the two sort of more injured bounty hunters appear to have been caught in the blast and are lying face down on the floor. The one who was less injured, who had the data stick, has caught a bit of the sort of shrapnel, but he's still running down the tunnel, although he's limping a little bit.
Okay, so my scales are like sort of, well, some of them anyway are sort of chipped away, and there's like blood and stuff on me, and I'm kind of trying to scrape it off whilst I'm running. At this point, I'm going to just try and retrieve the data pad if I can. If they're just limping and I'm still running, then I should be able to catch them up.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. You draw level with the slightly limping, still active bounty hunter who you know has got the data stick in his jacket.
Okay. I'm going to try and shoot him in the ankles if I can.
Okay, make your attack roll, difficulty 3. Okay, you shoot at him, but he's ducking and weaving a fair bit, and your shot goes a little wild, and he carries on just a little bit ahead of you. Who would you like to go next?
Yaatu, if you can.
Okay, so cut back to Yaatu, who is picking himself up from the floor. I think his top knot is on fire from the detonation, and yeah, just like shrapnel everywhere stuck into his leather jacket, and yeah, he's messed up real bad.
Indeed, as you sort of pick yourself up, your vision is swimming a little, and you've got this almost painful ringing sensation in your ears.
So what I probably try to do is I just lay back down, and I'm gonna try one last shot with my rifle, laying down, steadying the rifle. I'm gonna try and shoot the bounty hunter and not Crood.
Okay, make your attack roll, difficulty 3. Whilst Yaatu's doing that, Gribbly, you sort of ran down the other end of the tunnel. You've heard the thermal detonator go off, and as you've looked back, you've seen both Yaatu and Crood attempting to leap over it and pursue the bounty hunters. The wave of concussive forces caught them. Crood seems to have got off fairly lightly, whereas Yaatu was obviously struggling a little bit more.
Yeah, I was going to say I'm finding myself at the front of the pack again. This clearly something's gone wrong, and maybe I should at least find out what was on that data stick and go see if they're still alive.
Okay.
I'll start heading back at a not quite sprinting pace, a bit slower.
Okay, as you jog sort of back around the corner, which had shielded you from much of the blast in this tunnel, you can see Yaatu snapping off a shot at the one surviving bounty hunter. The shot unfortunately goes wide. You can see Crood is running after this hobbling bounty hunter with the data stick, and they're continuing down the tunnel. What do you want to do, Gribbly?
Oh, the chase is still on. I suppose they might even be wounded enough now for me to have an effect. Who knows? Okay, I'll give it a shot. And so I will pick the pace up and see if I can get a shot off.
Okay, make your attack roll. It's difficulty 3 purple. Okay, you snap off a shot. However, as I've said, this bounty hunter appears to be sort of quite skilled at his job. Despite his injuries, he's ducking and weaving as he's running down this tunnel rather than just running in a straight line, which is making it very hard to get a bead on him, especially with all the dust that's being kicked up and caking in the air due to the explosion of this thermal detonator. As you sort of snap off your shot and it goes wide, you've just about drawn at level with Yaatu. Yaatu, describe for Gribbly what sort of state you're in.
Am I correct in remembering that the two wounded bounty hunters were just thrown flat and the one guy left them behind?
Indeed. The two that were injured were sort of thrown onto the floor and they don't appear to be moving. The third bounty hunter who was the least injured, the one who had the data stick, has just pretty much left them for dead, and he's like trying to get out of it with the data stick.
Yeah, so what Gribbly sees is Yaatu, his hair smoldering, just like riddled with debris and shrapnel, and just leaking blood from various places because he was showing off his new tattoos, only like wearing a light vest, and he's like hunched over one of the presumably at least unconscious bounty hunters, just trying desperately to like find some sort of a comm unit so that he can like ridicule the guy running away.
Okay, as you're looking at this bounty hunter, one of the ones that's lying, you can now see as you're closer, dead on the floor. You can see that underneath the actual sort of like loose-fitting clothing they're wearing on top of their suits, they're actually wearing laminate armour underneath their clothing, which probably explains why they were so tough to take down. You can see they're carrying a heavy blaster pistol. The armour they're wearing doesn't appear to be the sort of standard Imperial issue. It's certainly not Stormtrooper armour, but it's obviously sort of fairly good quality. Aside from that, you can tell they're human. They've got the normal sort of like breathers, etc. And as you take the helmet off one of them, you can see there's a comm unit built into the helmet.
I'm probably, because I can detach the helmet, right? So I'm gonna just plop it onto my own head.
Not a problem. As you put it on, your vision goes this strange sort of light blue tinge as you're looking through the visor. However, you can see the visor's obviously been designed to sort of reduce visual impairment, so it suddenly becomes a lot easier to see through this dust-filled air of the tunnel.
I don't want to hog the spotlight too much, but I would be looking for some sort of identification, whether it's in like the internal systems of the armor or like on the guy. My intent being that I want to know who he is so that I can masquerade as him later.
Okay, do you have any knowledge underworld?
I think I do. Yeah, I do.
Okay, if you would like to make me a roll, difficulty 1. Okay, as you're looking, you don't find any sort of individual communications. However, as you're looking at inside the helmet as you put it on, you can see that there is a symbol, like sort of etched on the inside of it, and you recognise it as the symbol of the Zan Consortium, a fairly merciless and quick-growing criminal consortium that has a strong presence in the Castellar sector.
That's probably me, Dan. I'm just scavenging the dude because I give up because I can't. So.
Okay, who would you like to go next?
It's probably, let's see, what's up with Crood?
What's up with Crood, indeed?
Well, yeah, I'm still trying to get out after this guy with the data pad.
Okay, so as you're running after this guy, you're just about reaching the sort of mouth of the tunnel that goes up onto the surface of the planet. You can see the flickering blue of these magnetic and electrical storms that sweep across the planet. There's a sort of heavy ionized rainfall pattering down on the surface as this bounty hunter's like limping out of the surface, his coat's being blown about him by these heavy winds. And this is where we're going to have our tide change for this session. Now, for anyone who's watching or playing who isn't aware of what a tide change is, effectively what we do is I ask the players to suggest a plot twist to a certain scenario. I then post it as a poll on the Tides of Change Facebook group. People have sort of 10-15 minutes to vote on it while we go and have a drink, have a fag, etc. When we come back, the one that has the most votes is the plot twist that we apply to the game, and then we carry on. So what I'm going to say for this plot twist is this bounty hunter is running to the surface because he's trying to reach somewhere or meet someone on the surface, perhaps to hand over this data rod. So I'm going to ask you guys to suggest who or what he's meeting on the surface. So I don't know if any of you wants to go first.
Well, we could be kind of cheesy and get somebody like Link to come and accept the data pad.
Okay, that's so you're suggesting Link Gehenna's going to come and get the data pad?
Indeed.
Okay, splendid. And how about you, Gribbly? Do you have any ideas for who or what this bounty hunter's trying to meet on the surface?
Yeah, two. I'm trying to decide which one to go with.
If in doubt, always go Sith Lord. That's my experience.
Yeah. Well, I was toying with the idea of having a bit of irony in there and have him hand it over to the Rebel Alliance, but my other idea was Hut.
Well, there's certainly a heavy Hut presence in this sector, the Castellar sector, so that's certainly a possibility. You could also do the Rebel Alliance. It's entirely up to yourself.
Yeah, I'm gonna see what Yaatu does and go for the opposite. So if it goes good, I'll go bad and I'll have a Hut.
Nice.
Vice versa.
So, what about you, Yaatu?
I think it's going to be, and I will name check so that I don't make a mistake here. I think it's going to be Vinnen Vale, the Imperial Customs officer who has probably been like tracking us across the sector for a while now, and he's hooked up with the Zun Consortium to both A, mess us up, and B, recover what appears to be Imperial property. So there's probably like an Imperial lander there.
Okay, that's absolutely fine as far as I'm concerned. So you're suggesting Vin Vale, the Imperial Customs Bureau officer that you guys stole your ship from?
Yeah.
Okay, splendid. So how about you, Becky? Where do you want to go with yours?
Okay, so a very polite droid that says hello, and is the Rebel Alliance's.
Okay, splendid. So what we'll do now, guys, is we'll take a 10-minute break. So feel free to have a bathroom break, grab yourself a drink, whatever. We'll come back in 10 minutes after I've posted this on the Facebook group. So I'll see you in 10 minutes, guys. Okay, guys, so as you're heading towards the mouth of this tunnel, pursuing this bounty hunter, you see him limp out onto the storm-lashed surface of Ookbat I. It's incredibly difficult to hear anything above the crackling and roaring of this terrible electrical storm that is lashing the surface. However, about 20 meters in front of where this guy's running, this bounty hunter, you can see what appears to be a small shuttlecraft. It's clearly not of Imperial manufacture. It's an unmarked shuttle. The entrance ramp is down, and standing on the entrance ramp is this tall, scarred figure wearing heavy battle armor that appears to have knives strapped all over it in pretty much anywhere there is room or open space. Okay, Jason, since this was originally your character in the prelude, would you care to add any additional flavour to Link Gehenna? Although, bear in mind that a year has passed since we last saw him.
Well, he'll have keeping his head completely shaven. In fact, he likes to do it specifically with vibroblades. He has a very sort of permanent scowl on him. His eyes are very sort of dark, not in terms of color, but in terms of his mind and how he feels. But if he's after the data power, which obviously he is, by the sounds of it, he will just go straight up towards this limping bounty hunter and just take it straight off him. He doesn't care for this bounty hunter at all. He has no desire to help him or save him or anything.
Okay, that's absolutely fine. So you guys see this tall, sort of shaven-headed figure, quite a lot of scars on his face, sort of quite muscular, but in a sort of ropey, sort of like got the muscles from hard work rather than sort of working out in the gym, wearing this heavy armor, knives and blades all across him. There is a blaster rifle strapped to his back and a large, wickedly curved vibro knife hanging at his belt. As the bounty hunter sees this figure standing on the ramp, he screeches to a stop, and he sort of looks around, and for a few seconds you guys see this brief look of fear and absolute dread on his face, and you see him gibbering something and holding his hands up as though to ward off this intimidating figure that's bristling with knives, and you can just about hear above the noise of the storm him going, what are you doing here?
When I see this figure, I'm gonna just back off a bit. If I can see that he's got all those knives and things like that, I'm thinking, oh, if he throws one towards me, so I'm just gonna keep as introverted looking as possible, just so he doesn't notice me.
I'm gonna turn to Grood, grab his arm, and say, "What the hell was on that data pad?"
I don't know. I've only just noticed it. Yaatu, do you know anything more about this? They were shooting at you, for God's sake.
I didn't have time to decode it, unfortunately. But apparently something very valuable.
As you're saying this tall figure wearing this battle armor and bristling with these knives walks down the ramp, and you can see a slightly smaller, elderly-looking figure walking down the ramp out of the shuttle behind him. Crood and Yaatu, you both recognise Vinan Vale, the Imperial Customs Bureau officer that you sort of held hostage while you were stealing your ship. However, when you last saw him, he was sort of standing tall. He was wearing the grey Imperial Customs Bureau uniform, whereas now he's wearing more sort of utilitarian brown leather clothing. He looks a little bit hunched over, a little bit pale, a little bit drawn. His grey moustache and his hair look a little unkempt. He leans behind the tall, imposing figure with the blades, and in an almost wheedling voice says, Look, there it is. Just as I told you, now you'll live up to your part of the bargain. Okay? The figure with the blades just looks at him with this complete blank expression on his face and says, "If this data stick contains what you said it contains, Vale, then we'll see." And this tall armoured figure just starts striding purposefully towards the bounty hunter, who you can see is like looking around as though he's looking for somewhere to run.
Wait, so the bounty hunter isn't extremely pleased about this situation?
Initially, when he saw the ship, he started running towards it, but then he seemed surprised and scared when he saw this tall, blade-encrusted figure walking down the ramp.
Crood, who are you again? And I turn to Gribbly.
Whoever she is interested in the data pad. She just asked me for it.
I'm the person who just saved your life. You may call me Ms. Scald. What I want is very simple. I want to get that data pad back in your hands.
Okay, Miss Scald.
As you're having this discussion, you notice the bounty hunter actually turns around and he starts like running back towards you three, away from this figure that's advancing towards him. You notice this armoured figure unclips this vibro blade from his belt and sort of throws it from one hand to another, a very slight smile on his face as he flicks a hidden switch on the blade, and you hear this.
Who is that?
Probably their, I don't know, is there a boss? But anyway, the bounty hunter is going to be here soon, so what's the plan? I don't feel so good. I don't feel so good.
The bounty hunter runs up to the three of you, and all thought of like fighting you guys seems to have like gone. You see like a look of terror on his face now. He's closer, and he's like, just says to the three of you, he's almost rambling slightly. He's like, "Look, have you guys got a ship? We've got to get out of here."
I sort of look at the bounty hunter, then back at this guy with the blades, and at Yaatu, and I just run the other way.
Is the bounty hunter stopping to talk to us, or is he just like full pelt down the hall?
He's pretty much ran up to you three, and then he's stopped, and he's like, "Oh, have you got a ship? We've got to get out of here."
Okay, I wanna. I'm gonna nod to him, but I'm gonna like approach him to just without asking at all. I'm just gonna try and take his pistol.
He doesn't even make a vague move to stop you taking his pistol. You see him looking over his shoulder as though he desperately wants to get away from this grinning, maniacal figure holding the vibroblade. Is just like slowly walking towards you, whistling.
Okay, so I grab his pistol, and then I join the team of runners going down the hall.
What was on that data pad?
The bounty hunter, who's sort of obviously like running level with you three now, says, I was told it was in Imperial fleet movement or some such. I don't know the details. The consortium they just hired me to recover it. We had an agent, a Claudite, who'd infiltrated the Imperial Training Academy on Blimp 2, was posing as the daughter of the Academy headmaster, managed to steal some classified data. We were supposed to meet up, but when they didn't make contact, we came to find her, and then spotted you with the data stick. But What the hell's that butcher doing here? He says, and looks back over his shoulder at this still grinning and advancing figure that doesn't appear to have sped up as you're running off, as just sort of slowly walking forward, still whistling, twirling this vibroblade round.
Do you know him? He seems kind of crazy.
That's Link Gehenna. They call him the Butcher. He used to run with the consortium, but he was cast out for being too extreme. Now he runs the Arch&R pirates in this sector. Look, we've got to get out of here.
Okay, fair enough. And I sort of look back at Yaatu and think about this sort of leaked information. I think, wait, she had all of that on a data pad?
Whatever it is on the stick, it can wait until we get on the ship and away from here.
Absolutely, let's go right now.
Surely that information is... I'm guessing you run for money, right? Surely it's valuable? I know people who'd buy it.
I'm sure you do, but we prefer to save our own lives first and then talk about money.
We can sell it later, we can give it away, we can do whatever as long as we just make it to the ship.
Okay, can all of you guys please make me an athletics roll? The difficulty is 4 purple. Okay, as you guys are running away, this figure that's been identified as Link Gehenna the Butcher seems to be covering the ground very quickly, despite not even like breaking a sweat. You can hear this unnervingly, slightly cheerful whistling and the hum of this vibroblade getting closer. The bounty hunter who was with you is like getting ever more frantic, and he's trying to like run as quickly as he possibly can. You hear a slightly dead sounding but mocking voice from behind you as Link says, "Look, just hand me the data rod and that bounty hunter. I'm feeling generous. I might decide not to kill you all. If you've heard of my reputation, then you'll know that I don't shy away from injuring or killing people to get what I want. However, you're not currently important enough for me to expend much energy on. Just give me the data rod and the bounty hunter, and we'll all go our separate ways."
Actually, the bounty hunter's not mine to give, and I don't actually know anything about him other than he's with some consortium, and you're right, I'm not important. Completely unimportant at all. So, yeah, I don't really have any business with you. I don't have your data stick. I'm going to stop running.
Okay, that's fine. You stop running, Gribbly. The Butcher, this figure in heavy armour carrying this vibroblade, just continues walking past you as though you're not there, doesn't even take a second glance at you, and continues heading towards Crood, Yaatu and the fleeing bounty hunter. As you're looking past them, Gribbly, you can see this slightly bedraggled looking, late middle-aged man with a dishevelled grey moustache and hair. He's wearing sort of fairly sort of standard sort of brown and neutral coloured clothing. He's standing at the bottom of the ramp from the shuttle that the Butcher emerged from. Do you have any sort of law that would enable you to identify someone who works for the Empire?
I would imagine so, given my background, and I do have lots of knowledge skills. So.
Okay, well, I'd certainly say you could make a case for Core Worlds if you had that. Or potentially...
Certainly do.
Okay, make a roll. The difficulty is 2. Okay, with that lovely roll, it's a little difficult, but you think this guy's Vinan Vale, an ex-Imperial Customs Bureau officer. He used to run the Imperial Customs on a planet called Blimp 2. You vaguely remember hearing something about him getting demoted or fired recently, something about a ship being stolen out from under him that he'd impounded for smuggling illegal weapons, and it was snatched on his watch.
Okay, so so in the meantime, the big armored knife dude has walked past me, Link. Yeah. Okay. So I'm gonna follow on behind, and what I really want is I want to take a look around at anything in the environment I could maybe use to swing this from onto a different path, because at the moment it looks like he's going to chop up the bounty hunter and get that data stick. So Yeah, I wonder if there's anything at all in the environment that could maybe be useful.
Okay, you guys are on the surface now, and you're running away from, well, your friends are running away from this knife-wielding thug, effectively. You can see that there's still some, just off to your left, sort of like maybe 20 yards away, there's still some of the speeder bike racers fiddling around with their bikes, etc. There's a small crowd around them, where quite a lot of them have stopped to watch this tall, imposing figure with the knives chasing after you guys.
Yeah, say no more. I'm going over to the speeder bikes.
Okay, you head over. There's a young human there. He's wearing a long red synth leather jacket. He's leaning on what appears to be a modified speeder bike, a swoop bike, if you will. He's talking to a couple of his fellow racers, and he's saying, yeah, customised it myself. When do you see this baby go in the big race? It's going to leave you eating my dust.
In the name of the Zan Consortium, I am taking this bike, and I kick him off, if I possibly can, and try to steal it.
Okay, splendid. So that will be a brawl roll, difficulty 2.
Oh dear, we've got no destiny points left, have we?
Oops.
Okay, as you go to kick him off, he's actually already got like his feet in the sort of like the harness of the bike, so it just like rocks the bike a little, and he's like, hey, what are you doing? This is a custom bike. If you damage the paintwork, you're going to have to pay for it. Like hell you're taking my bike in the name of whatever it was you said.
Yeah, I think if I'm going to follow this through, there's only one way to do it, and I'll draw my gun on him.
Okay, you pull your gun out, at which point he holds his hand up, and he's like, whoa, 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 there's no need for that. Oh, calm down, calm down.
I gesture for him to get off the bike.
He jumps off the bike and so backs away, still holding his hands up.
Okay, I'm going to take it and fire it up and leave him standing.
Yeah, he'd pretty much got the bike ready to go. It's sort of hovering and there's this vibration running through it. You jump on it, twist the throttle, and it begins moving away at speed. Where are you heading to, Gribbly?
Straight for a big armored dude bristling with knives.
Okay, that's fine. So, Crood and Yaatu, you're still heading away from Link with the bounty hunter level with you. You can see he's walking towards you, still sort of twirling this vibro knife around. When from behind him, you hear this, and you see this swoop approaching him at speed, this modified, slimmed down speeder bike with Gribbly clinging to the handlebars.
So we're probably still going like full speed ahead with the bounty hunter. Is the swoop bike big enough for several people, or is it like a sports model that just takes one?
It is a sports model. You could probably fit 2 people on it. If it was 3, you'd be pushing it.
Okay, which one of you wants to ride on a bike?
Me!
The bounty hunter's like, oh, whatever, we've just got to get out of here. We can't let that butcher get hold of us.
Give me those handlebars.
Okay, so I point out the incoming speeder bike to Crood, and then turn to the bounty hunter. I saw where he put the data stick, right?
That's correct. He put it on the inside pocket of his jacket.
Quick, give it the data stick. We'll give it to Crood and he'll get away.
Okay, at this point, can you make me a negotiation roll? It's only difficulty 1, but it is red. Okay, he pauses for a few moments and then sort of still looking over your shoulder with terror as Link's moving towards you. He fumbles this data stick out of his pocket and passes it over to you.
I'm gonna give it to Crood, and then like prepare to boost him up and basically fling him up to the incoming speeder bike, if that's what the speeder bike ends up doing.
Okay, so Gribbly, are you just literally aiming to ram the speeder bike into this hulking figure? What is your aim?
That was my initial thought, but then it's a question of how much of this data stick exchange do I see, because, you know, that very much is my purpose, and if I see it, that could change things.
Okay, make me a perception roll, Gribbly. The difficulty is 1, but it's a red dice. Okay, as you're just about to ram this bike into the back of this knife-wielding figure, Link the Butcher, you see Yaatu pass this data stick over to Crood, and then he appears to be getting ready to boost Crood into the air or something similar.
Okay, so instead I buzz very closely past this Link character and head directly for Crood, and easing up just a little as I get close to him in order to lift him onto the bike with me, or just the data stick if need be.
Yeah, that's not a problem. You can slow down a little bit. So, Crood, you can jump on the back of the bike if you wish.
Of course I will.
Okay, you grab the data stick off Yaatu and shimmy up onto this bike as it slows down a little bit. Both yourself and Gribbly are now on the bike. You see Yaatu, as you're watching, that your exchange of the data stick has been seen by Link. He slowly starts taking this heavy blaster rifle off his back and dropping down onto one knee.
Yeah, full throttle and swerving all over the place.
Okay, splendid. So, can you please make me a piloting planetary roll? The difficulty is one purple and one red.
Oh, drats, I was hoping to get in there first with the Destiny.
It's alright, you still had some light side, so you can still spend a Destiny.
Crood is very frustrated at the fact he's not driving this thing.
You've got Crood on the back, you've got the data stick, you zoom away from Link, who's on one knee now with his rifle cocked. There's a poof as a blaster bolt goes wide, just nearly clipping your speeder bike, but you're jinking about all over the place, so it doesn't manage to hit you, and you're zooming away from this figure at full speed with Crood on and the data stick on the back. So Yaatu, that just leaves you and this petrified bounty hunter with this standing a little bit in front of this armoured figure who appears to have almost entirely forgotten about you. Now he's aiming his rifle at the disappearing speeder bike.
Yeah, I just yell, like, you run! We'll wait at the intersection down the hole. Just keep going. This is to the bounty hunter that's there with me. I have a different plan.
Okay, the bounty hunter nods and he sprints off at a sort of right angle to you.
Since we have some destiny points, as many as you would like for me to produce, I would like to bring out breaching charges to collapse this tunnel.
Okay, so you're planning to duck back into the tunnels and collapse the opening, is that correct?
Yeah, I want to run a short distance forward and then set up a couple of charges and blow the thing so that perhaps Link will be at least slowed down, if not just blocked.
Okay, that's fine. Flip a couple of destiny points. Okay, you flee into the tunnels, setting up your breaching charges. As you're zipping away from the tunnel entrance in the opposite direction, Crood and Gribbly on this swoop bike, in the distance you hear and you see a column of dust rising up into the air as Yaatu retreats into the tunnel and collapses the entrance using these breaching charges. From your position as you're sort of watching on the back, Crood, you see this butcher, this knife-wielding figure, stand up, put the rifle back on his back, obviously realising you guys are out of range. He walks to the mouth of this tunnel, now blocked with rocks and rubble, sort of experimentally prods at a couple of the rocks with his knife, finding it sort of fairly heavily compacted. He shrugs, turns and begins walking back towards the small ship that he came from.
What? He's just giving up?
It looks that way from where you're sitting.
Where the hell's your ship?
Well, considering the way you're flying this damn thing, I'm not sure I want to disclose that to you.
Look, whatever your name is, I've just rescued you.
We were doing fine, actually.
What part of in over your head and shot to pieces don't you recognise?
Having said that, my head kind of hurts a little bit. But that's from the frag grenade, nothing else. Oh, you're a Twi'lek. It's kind of weird seeing one of you not in sort of that, position.
Yeah, keep talking. Every word you say is a deeper grave. Now, where the hell is your ship?
You better not be flying my ship. That ship is mine.
You've got a cartel after you. A guy that the cartel is scared of, and you're worried I don't even know how to, sort of fly a ship, but, I mean, seriously.
You don't know how to fly a speeder, let alone a bloody ship. It's my baby. You gotta understand that, okay?
Okay, and as Crood says that and says, all right, I'll let you know where the ship is, That's when we sort of fade to black on that scene. Now we're going to resume a short while later with you guys having rendezvoused at your ship. Now, Yaatu, would you have taken the bounty hunter back with you?
Yeah, that was my plan. I wanted to sort of like take the longer route.
Yeah, that's absolutely fine. So you guys rendezvous back at your ship a short time later. As you approach your vessel, you see there's still the rebels that you have been working with are working on repairing your ship. As you approach, you can see the orange jumpsuited clad figure of Briamar Cartwell, the rebel pilot that you rescued. She's stood supervising the repairs. As she sees you guys approaching, obviously Crood and Gribbly have sort of like parked up this stolen speeder bike. Yaatu, you've got this bounty hunter in tow. Seeing the state that you guys are in, she comes running over and she's like, oh my God, what's happened to you guys?
I tried to hide my face.
We met. Oh, that hurts. We met some pirates.
Pirates?
Yeah, the really, really nasty kind.
The cartel kind.
Yeah, I think it was the cartel pirates. Pirate cartel, yeah.
Okay, at this point, Gribbly, I'm going to ask, would you have had any previous encounters with Briamar Cartwell, who is basically one of the sort of ace pilots of the rebellion in this particular system?
He would most definitely have heard my voice. Whether I'd actually dispatched him on anything or not, it's pretty much a definite. Whether we'd met in person, couldn't say for sure. But he'd definitely know my voice.
Okay, well, it's a female pilot, so I'm going to ask, can you please make me a stealth roll, difficulty 2. However, one of those will be red, so it's 1 purple, 1 red. Okay, so as you're trying to hide your face, Briamar looks around and she's like, Gribbly? Sorry, Miss Cold, is that you?
Yes.
What on earth are you doing here?
A data pad with Imperial Fleet positions and movements. We've recovered it.
Oh, Imperial Fleet movements. You say we should take this to the commanders straight away if it's important strategic information. Now, Crood, Yaatu, you say there was some pirates after you. Did you see any identifying marks? Did you get a name?
Yeah, the butcher. This crazy guy with knives, loads of scars all over him. I think his actual name was Link.
As you say that, Bree's face goes a little pale, and under her breath she says, "The butcher here. I can barely believe it. But we need to go and speak to command as quickly as possible. Please, come with me. Your ship's nearly ready, but like I say, we need to speak to the commander about this."
Okay, we better do it quick because he was right here and ready to do some crazy damage.
Look, it's probably best I just wait on your ship for you guys. You know, that I mean, you've got the data pad, right? That's what they need.
Okay, so Gribbly seems to want to stay behind on the ship, whereas Bree seems to want to take at least some of you to see Commander Dane, the Selkath commander of the rebels here, who you would know, Gribbly, is a sort of guerrilla commander. He's a little bit extreme in his views on the rebellion.
Yeah, but the closer he is to command, the more he might know about what I did, so...
Indeed.
Come on, Miss Cold. You, as you said, you probably saved our hides back there, so should probably get some recognition for that, and maybe some credits too.
Oh, sorry. What was your name? I'm sure you can divvy up anything that's due for me. That's fine. I trust you. I'll just wait here.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm Yaatu Deng. This here is Crood Bosma, Captain Bosma, when he's not drunk.
I am still Captain Bosmo, no matter how drunk I am. The rank does not deplete because...
Well, if you're set on sitting down for a bit, I can't really blame you. I think I'll just join you. Crood, can you take over this? See what the rod is all about? with them?
I kind of don't want to leave my ship alone with.
Okay, fine. You can stay. I can.
It's nothing personal. And I turn to the Twi'lek. It's nothing personal, but new people around my ship. I don't like that.
Right. I get it. I get it. It's just, I mean, that was. I need to recover a little myself. I mean.
Oh, there's plenty of bunks on the ship. You can just sleep there if you want, just as long as I'm on the ship.
Right, and so do I need to go meet the rebel commander? Is that what's happening here?
No, you can just go with Crood. You can go back to the ship. There's some food there. I can throw myself on
care of everything.
That would be great. I have a terrible headache now.
Briamar says, well, if you just come with me, Yaatu, I'll take you to Commander Adarian. Okay, you're led through the tunnels into a cavern. There's a computer system set up in there. You can see the aquatic Selkath, Commander Adarian Dane, sat overseeing some of the rebel troops working on this computer system. As you walk in, he says, "Bloody hell, Yaatu, what happened to you? You look like Vareth Dung, man."
Yeah, I got shot and then I got hit with a thermal detonator. So it's been one of those days.
He throws a stim pack at you and it hits you in the chest. Well, get that down, you man. That should perk you up a little bit.
Yeah, thanks. Oh boy. And I stick the stim pack into my chest.
Indeed, you inject yourself with the stim pack and you feel this rush of almost sort of like caffeine and other stimulants as well as curatives rushing into your system. You regain 5 wounds and you do feel slightly better.
Oh, that hit the spot.
So, what exactly is going on then, Yaatu? Anything I need to be worried about?
There's a couple of pirates on the in the tunnels, or I guess on the surface. I don't know. There's this butcher guy with the pirates.
The butcher, you say? The butcher here?
Yeah, and then there's those consortium guys. They're not all that bad, even though they threw me with a thermal detonator. It turns out he's kind of all right.
Commander Dane looks across at your pilot friend and says, "Well, if the Archonor pirates are here, we best get some of our men out on patrol. We can't risk them taking advantage, although it's a little out of their turf. I wonder what they're doing up in the northern contested zone."
Turns out they came here because of us. It's a really, really long story and confusing, and I don't like to think about it. But we ended up with this Imperial data device, and I presume that we gave the data stick to Briamar. So I just gestured to the stick that Briamar is holding.
Yeah, she steps forward and passes it to Commander Dane. He says, "Well, it's definitely of Imperial manufacture. High-level clearance. It'll probably take our boys a while to crack, assuming you're giving it to us, of course."
Well, yeah, sure. You can have it. We almost died because we had it. Maybe you'll have a better time.
Well, if the butcher's got your number, I'd advise you to keep a low profile. He's a merciless killer. Used to run with the Zan Consortium until he got a little too extreme even for them. Say what you like about the Zan Consortium, but they're mainly focused on profit. Too much merciless killing isn't good for business. So when they threw him out, he took control of the Archonor pirates, but then they normally haunt the area around the southern contested zone. Whatever's on this data rod must be very important to bring them up so far out of their normal turf.
Yes, apparently Imperial intelligence, like fleet stuff.
You see his eyes narrow as you say that. Fleet stuff, eh? Well, could be important. I'll get some of my tech boys on it to decode it.
Okay, then. Right. I think we'll probably be leaving for a while once the captain sobers up. And I think we'll be back once we have some more supplies for you.
Yes, speaking of supplies, and he slides out like a small crate from under one of the desks. While my men were repairing your vessel, we found these on board, and he sort of shoves the crate over towards you with his foot. You can see inside the crate are a number of the sort of algae packs that you're now familiar with the monogrammed letter D on them, and there's a number of dead Lakari beetle corpses inside the crate as well.
Are the beetle corpses as big as the one on the ship? before?
Yeah, they're pretty big.
Oh, I thought we got them all. Apparently not.
Yes, we found them in a hidden compartment on your vessel. Damnedest thing, I've never seen Lucari beetles as big as this before. Damn things are getting everywhere. We're getting more reports in from the outlying worlds of crops failing. These things are just chewing up anything in their path. They're more voracious than they've ever been.
Yeah, we've had a lot of problems with those lately. But yeah, thanks for clearing it out.
Not a problem. It's the least we could do, given the very reasonable deal you did us on that merchandise.
Yeah, which I hope will enable you to look upon us favorably in the future as well when we come in with the next haul.
Whilst I can't speak officially for the Alliance to restore the Republic when it comes to dealing with independence and such like, unofficially, you've got a friend here on Ookbat I, Mr. Deng.
Yeah, I think we understand each other, Commander Dane. And I extend my hand to shake his.
He shakes your hand in his own sort of clammy, slightly slimy hand, and his neck sort of pulses in and out as he breathes, and he says, "Well, if you're planning on leaving here, where are you heading next?"
I'll have to consult with the captain. No, not exactly settled on a plan yet, but I think it's fair to say that this place is too rough for us.
Well, your ship should be about good to go, so in case I don't see you again before you leave, good hunting to you, Mr. Deng, and hopefully this will be the first of a very lucrative series of trading agreements between ourselves and you.
If you ask us, that's how it's going to be, yeah.
Excellent.
Okay. So, Commander Dane, I wish you all the best, and I extend my hand to shake his once more.
He shakes your hand again, and then says, "Be careful out there, with food supplies starting to run short, and people are starting to get a little bit antsy, and I'm worried an Imperial crackdown might be looming on the horizon."
Yeah, probably.
And what with the Hutts trying to get into the ration business, selling their bootlegged rations everywhere, it's getting dangerous in the contested zones.
Yeah, we had a run-in when we picked up Briamar over here. Bunch of Hutt fighters. Bad times.
Indeed.
Right then. Okay. I suppose we'll see you when we see you.
Good luck to you, Yaatu. Stay safe.
Good luck to you as well, Commander. I probably, even though I'm just hurting all over the place, I'm probably after saying goodbyes to Briamar, I'm probably strutting myself to the ship like I was the shit.
Okay, so we cut to the scene a few moments later with you all on the ship. Are you still are you taking the bounty hunter with you, or?
That was my plan, but Gribbly and Crood, of course, probably have some input there as well. But I told him to wait at the ramp or something.
No problems.
I suppose I would say we can do for now, but it needs to be a short-term thing.
Okay, so we fade out here and we cut back in with you guys in the main sort of crew compartment of the Night Dragon, your YT-1300. Gribbly, Crood, Yaatu, you're there. This bounty hunter's there. As he sort of takes off his helmet, puts it next to him, you can see he's actually a Deveronian. So he has this sort of reddish-like skin and these two small horns on his forehead. He appears a lot calmer now that he's no longer facing the prospect of imminent death by Link. And we cut to you guys having a discussion in the sort of main crew quarters. You've got your hollow chessboard, etc. You've got your couches around, a few of the crates around. In fact, on top of a crate, you can see your pet Lothcat curled up asleep, Crood.
Oh, good. He's finally asleep.
And you guys are having this discussion, so go ahead.
I've just helped myself to some of your food, and I'm, casually eating it. So, not a bad ship for, your sort of status of person. Yeah, it's very quaint.
I give this really dry look.
So, this bounty hunter, what do you plan to do with him?
Drop him off somewhere, preferably within the next few days.
I imagine you're thinking the same thing with me, no doubt.
Yeah, but you obviously know people.
Well, that I do. And of course, I just saved your lives.
So you keep telling us.
Well, I
Yeah.
demonstrated that with action, I believe. Now, I'm curious, you're obviously friendly with the rebels. Are you rebels?
No, we're, I suppose you'd say, freelancers.
Freelancers with a rebel leaning?
The Deveronian bounty hunter sort of sits there, he scratches one of his horns, looks at you Gribbly, and then sort of like sighs and says, "They're obviously smugglers."
Smugglers, you say? Interesting. On a little ship like this, where would you hide anything? It's tiny.
Well, you'd be surprised what you can hide on these old YT 1300s. Most of them have got concealed compartments below the floor, says the bounty hunter.
But everybody knows there are concealed compartments below the floor, so they're not exactly concealed, are they?
Well, that's true. While this conversation's going on, what's Yaatu doing?
Probably eating and not moving. So I'm probably... where are we, by the way?
You're on your ship in the sort of central crew quarters.
Okay, yeah. So probably it's just like laying down on a bunk and, I don't know, like sipping nutrient fluid. And I interject there, like, well, it's not like the Imperials are very smart about searching compartments, whether they're hidden or not. The ship here was infested with Lokari beetles all over the place, even before we stole it. So, yeah.
Oh, you stole it from Imperials. Nice. I think I'm gonna like you guys.
Yeah, I mean, they were arresting the previous owner, and we figured that the Imperium doesn't need one of these. So, oh, and then we did this cool thing with the speeder bike that I also stole from the Imperials. We steal a lot of stuff from the Imperials.
Yes, I think you're my kind of people.
And at that I sit up and I reach my probably like slightly bandaged because of all the shrapnel that I took. Hand to Gribbly, put down my nutrient fluid bag, and just offer my hand to shake hers. And I say, well, we have shed blood together, so I think we're quite friendly now. And you're one of us, as far as I'm concerned.
I shake his hand and then afterwards rub my hand on my trousers a couple of times.
The bounty hunter, who's sort of like leaned back in his seat, says, "Well, this is all very touching, but if you could just drop me off at a habitable planet, it's not like I can go back to the consortium. After all, now I've failed in my retrieval operation. They don't take kindly to failure."
Right. Well, Crood.
Yes, Yaatu.
Where to next? I have some ideas, but I wanted to check with you and Miss Called here as well before we punch in any coordinates.
Yeah, well, you're the one who normally does that, but obviously I want to check to see where we're actually going. Well, considering how short-lived that speed bike racing was, and I was hoping to have a good time, I wouldn't mind going somewhere else. But obviously there are more pressing matters, including me sobering up.
Hey, if you want one of the race bikes, I've left one outside.
Well, hey, it'll be good for getting around on planets, so I will take it anyway. But I'm a much better driver than you, that's for sure.
I'm just the one that was quick-witted enough to think of it.
Yeah, well, like I said, I was hoping to have a good time.
To get back to the point of the coordinates, so I have some ideas because we have a lot of credits for from the blaster transaction.
So what were your ideas?
I have a list of the agri-worlds in the sector. So there's Blimp 2, where we stole the ship from. Good times. Probably not welcome back there. There's Calls 2. There's Dirktiel 1. There's the Soren people there, so if you're not into lizards, then maybe let's not go there. And then there's the Katala system, which there's probably huts there. So these would be the major agri-worlds in the sector, and I think at this point, unless we can find the weapons factory that produced the last shipment of illegal blasters, unless we find that, and I think it's on calls as well. Unless we find that, we probably would be better off shipping food to the what's their face, the Alliance. So basically, my question is, which one of these planets do you want to go to set up a deal to either buy or, I guess, steal a food shipment?
The bounty hunter says, well, if you're looking for a place where no one's going to ask too many questions, well, Katala's probably the place to go. I mean, yeah, okay, it's riddled with Hut influence, but there's trading going on there. As long as you're not causing trouble, no one tends to ask too many questions.
Yeah, aside from Jerkteal, that's probably the, I guess, the most low-profile one. So Crood and Miss Called. And Yaatu says it as like M-I-Z called, thinking it's your like first name. So Miss Called. Any ideas? Shall we go to Katala and find some grub for the rebellion?
That's a good idea. I just wonder if maybe the Huts are in some ways slightly more scary than the Imperials, who are just that bit more clueless. Perhaps if we were to go to an Imperial planet and steal food from there, it might have more impact. I mean, it might be easier.
Okay, so I guess that's one vote for Blimp. I have some other ideas for Blimp. And I think, yeah, never mind, because we're in the crew quarters, so my like impromptu fridge wouldn't be here. So Blimp, it's an agri-world. Imperials all over the place.
As you're having this discussion, you notice that Crood's Lothcat stands up and yawns from the crate where it's been sitting. It then wanders out of the room. A few moments later, you hear what sounds like the crashing sound of something getting knocked over from one of the cargo bays.
Oh, Kaiba, what are you doing now?
Yeah, do you mind? Crood, do you mind? Get your cat.
Oh, I thought you were talking to him. Well, I was going to say he doesn't understand basic, and then I'm sort of already looking where he is and running after him and sorting him out.
Okay, you head round into the cargo bay, which is chamber number 16 on the map. You can see it's the place where Yaatu has rigged up a small freezer that has the body of the Claudite inside it. You can see that your Lothcat appears to have sort of like knocked over the small droid that's stored there, and it's like tangled up in the wires.
Oh, you. Come on, calm down. I'll get you out.
Meow.
So I'm going to try and loosen the wires.
Yep, not a problem. You untangle it from the small sort of G2 droid that you've got stashed in there, and the cat sort of bounds out, rubs around your legs, purring loudly.
Okay, good. Now get back to your basket.
It looks at you ruefully for a few moments and then goes and sits back in its basket.
Oh, I have a lost cat.
Right. So, about business, are we feeling Katala or Blimp? Katala being the one with the huts and Blimp being the one with the Imperials. Either side could stand to lose a lot of food, so...
Well, since we're working for the Imperials, why don't we strike at the... Since we're working for the Rebels, why don't we strike at the Imperials? Jeez, they're all so similar, these factions.
And I hand my nutrient pack to Crood. And just go, yeah, maybe you should have some of this. You're starting to sound a bit loopy.
Well, yeah, but I'm sure that I do have a point. Like, there are all these factions trying to work together with each other, and then they're working against each other, and they're all stabbing each other in the back, and it's... Sometimes I get them confused, because they're kind of all the same, really.
I'm gonna pretend I didn't get that. So, I guess Blimp it is then. It is, like I said, it's Imperial territory. It's gonna have us on file, I think, from the last time we were there. So probably need to do some deft maneuvering, but should be fine. And of course, there's... How do you guys feel? Because we have the agent that stole the Imperial data. We have the agent here on board. They'd probably be interested in that. Do you want to try and maybe, I don't know, sell that to the Imperials or what?
Sorry, you have an agent, an Imperial agent or a Rebel agent?
I think it's a freelance agent, posing as an Imperial, stole the Imperial data rod that we just handed over to the Alliance.
Well, they've already proven useful. Maybe we can get them to steal something else.
Yeah, the stealing days are over for that agent, unfortunately.
Right. So there's just money in it now, then?
Probably, and maybe a part of them for our illegal activity, so to speak.
Well, if it gets us access to do more harm, to do more business, then absolutely, yes.
Crood?
Yeah, she does have a point there.
Right. Okay, Devaronian, how does Blimp sound to you?
He looks up and shrugs and says, good a place as any.
Okay then. Unless anyone has any more bright ideas, then I suggest we haul in the sports speeder and I'll punch in the coordinates for Blimp.
Okay, so you guys take off from Ookbat 1, you punch in the coordinates, and a few moments later you disappear into hyperspace heading for the Blimp system. And that is where we are going to draw an end to this evening's session. Thank you very much for playing, guys. I hope that was okay for you all.
Yes.
And I'm happy to chat as ever, but I'm going to end the recording momentarily.
Thank you very much for that, John. Thank you.
Yeah, danke.
No worries. We hope if you've enjoyed this video, you'll click on like and consider subscribing to our channel. In the meantime, please check out some of the other videos that we've created. Thanks very much for watching.